Begin seated on your knees. If you'd like a block or props of any sort, have them nearby. Start in a tabletop position and begin to articulate the elbows so that they point towards the back of the room rather than the sides of the room. Find a gentle stitch of the rib cage, then take a breath in, find cow pose. And exhale, cat pose, chin deep into your chest. Again, inhale, open up cow pose, gently pull hands and feet towards one another. And exhale to round, angling tailbone towards the knees. Inhale, open up, cow pose. And exhale, round, cat pose. Coming back to neutral, keep the elbows pointing back, ribcage stitched, tuck the toes, and float the knees, hovering the knees just an inch or two above the ground, keeping a long neutral spine, and condensing the core by pulling hands and feet towards one another. Continue to breathe long and smooth, softening through the jaw, the eyes, the neck. Slowly lower both knees to the ground at the same time, then open up, inhale to cow pose. And exhale, round, cat pose. 2 more, inhale, open. And exhale, round. Press the hands down and away from the knees. 1 more time, inhale, open cow pose. And exhale, round out, cat pose. Fingertips will continue to root, elbows continue to hug in, ribcage stitches, find a long spine as you curl the toes under and hover the knees. This time step your toes towards the back of the mat, finding a high plank position. Pull hands and feet towards one another so that the strength of your arms and your legs come inwards towards the spine, letting the core wrap around and embrace the front side of the body, lifting it up to meet the back side of the body. Continue pressing down through the fingertips, then slowly lower the knees at the same time. Take a breath in, cow pose. Feel your spine warm. Exhale, round. Inhale, open up. Still a gentle awareness of the core, even as we open. Exhale, round. Inhale, entire spine moves with you. Exhale, round, cat pose. Coming back to neutral tabletop. And bring the forearms down to the ground. Hands will come underneath the deltoids to opposite shoulders to make sure that the elbows are directly beneath the shoulders. Palms will then come together. Press down through the elbows to stitch the ribs. And step your feet back to a forearm plank. And keep pressing the elbows and the toes down into the mat as you breathe, and pulling them slightly towards one another. Feel the back of the heart elevate. And feel the tailbone anchor down. Belly is nice and hollow. Breathe length into the neck and softness into the face. Then slowly lower the knees. Coming back up to tabletop pose. 3 times move through the spine. Inhale, cow pose. And exhale, cat pose. Inhale, open. Exhale, round. Inhale. And exhale. Coming back to neutral, curl the toes under. Press down through fingertips, press down through toes. And with hollow belly, hover the knees. Begin to press down through your fingertips and your left toes. Lift your right toes off the ground. Then begin to straighten your left leg as your bent knee comes in towards your forehead. Shoulders will come over the fingertips as you claw the mat, hollowing out the heart up towards the ceiling. Breathe here, everything lengthening up. Then slowly bend your left knee, bring your right toes back down to the ground. Then float the left toes, start to straighten the right knee, Coming into high plank, knee to nose. Squeeze everything in and up. Continue to root through the fingertips. Spread the weight up between both hands. And slowly come back, floating tabletop. Knees will come down at the exact same time. With control, 3 times cat and cow. Using the support of your core to warm through the spine, to spread out on all sides. One more time, breathe deep. Coming back to neutral, curl the toes under, root through the fingertips, and hover the knees. Step back to high plank. Now begin to press the shoulders up to the ceiling, and then let your chest drift down to your thumbs. Inhaling to protract the shoulders, spreading them apart, and exhaling to retract the shoulder blades, allowing them to come close together. After you finish 5 rounds, bring the knees down to the ground and find 3 cat and cow poses. Start to feel the way the shoulders move between the shoulder blades and the collarbone as you protract and retract your shoulders here. And coming down to forearms, once again, double check hands can come to the top of the biceps to make sure they are elbows are directly under the shoulders. Press down through the elbows, stitch the rib cage, hollow out the belly, and find forearm plank. 5 times, chest comes down towards the elbows, then chest presses up to the ceiling. Keep the long line in the rest of the body. Come down to your knees if you need to. Shoulders and ears stay long and lengthened away from one another. When you finish 5, knees come down to the ground. Come back up to tabletop. 3 times cat and cow. Keep a fluidity of the spine, allowing yourself to process and wash through every bit of this invigoration. Keep grounded through your fingertips and your toes, your knees, your hips, your shoulders, all these big joints as you allow your spine to ripple. Coming back to neutral tabletop, curl the toes under. Hover the knees, pull hands and feet towards one another, and under switch to the left. So right foot comes outside of the left foot. Hips and heart start to lengthen up to the ceiling. Keep rooting down through your right hand. Coming back to the center, floating tabletop. Under switch to the other side. Left foot comes outside the right foot. Hips and heart, right hand all lift. Now coming back to center, move slowly through a few more rounds. Each round getting a little bit more fluid, a little more controlled. Now every time you come back to the floating tabletop, shins remain parallel and very close to the ground. And every time you lift your hips and heart up to the ceiling, stay rooted through your hand connected to the ground, allowing to find a rotation that is based in strength through the shoulders. So here we're finding core strength, but we're also opening up the chest. Coming back to neutral, lower both knees, and then 3 times cat and cow. Each time we find these neutralizing cat and cow, use it to move any sensation, anything that's been awakened. See it, process it, and let it go before we continue on. Back to center. Step back to high plank once again. Bring right forearm down, then left forearm down. Right hand down, left hand down. Left forearm down, right forearm down. Left hand down, right hand down. Right forearm down, left forearm down. Right hand, left hand. Left forearm, right forearm. Left hand, right hand. Couple more times. Keep the hollow belly the entire time. Use your knees if you need to. Length will give you strength. When you finish, bring your knees back down to the ground 3 times, cat and cow. Take a big sigh on the exhale if you need to. In this video, I did 4 sets total of the plank and forearm plank oscillations. Feel free to add more, or add another set of 4 if that would feel good to you. If you have a prop or a block, bring it between your hands as you come down to forearms, elbows directly underneath the shoulders. When a block comes between the palms, press the palms into one another. Press the elbows down into the mat. Stitch the rib cage as you bring the block up and overhead. And then exhale, let your shoulders open. Now we'll do 5 deep breaths here. Keep the stitching of your rib cage so that this mobility, this flexibility is active. Instead of allowing the chest to splay open, we guide this directly into our shoulders. The hips remain over the knees, block remains roughly over the head. If you don't have a block, you can press your palms into one another as well in a prayer position. We use the pressure of pressing inwards, pressing downwards, and hugging the ribs into the heart. When you finish 5 breaths, come back to tabletop and find 3 cat and cow poses. Using this renewed and reinvigorated awareness of the core to deepen your experience of these simple actions. And acknowledge how the most simple, subtle movements can have profound ripples, moving ever outwards. Setting the block off to the side, come to a seat. With knees bent, hands come forward, slowly place yourself down to the mat. Arms and legs will come up into the air. Big toes will press together, the rest of the toes will spread out wide. Hands will come to interlace over the base of the skull. Now press your toes together to fire up the inner thighs. Take a breath in to lengthen your legs long, curl the hips up. Exhale, lift the heart. Inhale, lift up through everything, and exhale, lower everything back down. Inhale, lengthen the legs, curl the tailbone up to the ceiling. Exhale, lift the heart. Inhale, lengthen through everything. Exhale, hips and heart back down to the mat. Again, legs long, inhale. Exhale, heart long, elbows stay broad. Inhale, lift up through everything, and exhale, lower. Inhale. Exhale, lift the heart. Inhale, lift hips and heart at the same time. And exhale, lower everything down. Very subtle. Inhale, pull up through the legs, lift up in the pelvic floor. Exhale, lift up the heart, cinch the belly. 1 more breath. And exhale, lower. Bring your knees into your chest. Bring your hands to your knees. Take a breath in, press your knees away from your chest to fill the belly. And exhale, guide the knees into your chest to squeeze all the air out. Again, inhale into any sensation, and exhale, let it go. Maybe sway a little from side to side if you need. Now coming back in, lengthen the legs, lengthen the arms, and bring the hands to interlace over the base of the skull. Elbows remain wide, back of the neck stays long. Now press the toes together, curl the hips up, lift the heart up, lower the left leg to hover up and off the ground. Squeeze the inner thighs towards one another like the big toes are still touching. Then bring the left leg back up to meet the right foot. Lower the hips and heart. Inhale, lengthen the legs up to the ceiling. Exhale, lift the heart. And then slowly lower the right foot to hover off the ground. So hips are still curling up to the ceiling. Heart is lengthening up towards the left leg. Beautiful. Bring the right leg back up to meet. And then slowly lower back down. Again, inhale, lengthen the legs, lift up on the pelvic floor. Exhale, lift the heart. Inhale to lift up through everything. And then lower the left leg to hover. Inhale, bring the left leg back up and slowly lower to the ground. Inhale, lengthen the legs. Exhale, lift the heart. Slowly lower the right leg to hover, lengthen both legs out. Then inhale, both legs up, heart up. Lower hips and heart. Inhale, lift the hips. Exhale, lift the heart. Lower the left leg to hover. Bring the left leg back up to the ceiling. Keep the legs powerful. Right leg lowers. Lift the right leg. Inhale. Exhale, left leg lowers. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, right leg lowers. Heart is still lifted. Elbows are still broad. Collarbone is broad. Left leg will lower. And left leg will lift. And right leg will lower. And right leg will lift. One breath up through everything. And then slowly release. Knees come into the chest, hands to the knees. 3 breaths. Press your knees away from you. And exhale, curl the knees in tighter as you process. Do this as many times as you need to smooth out any sensations. Arms and legs up into the air, then hands will come to interlace over the base of the skull once again. Press the big toes together, lengthen the legs up to the ceiling, curl the tailbone, curl the heart up. Lower the left leg to the ground, bring your left elbow to your right knee. Squeeze them into one another, then bring everything back to center, legs up. Right leg will lower, right elbow to the left knee, squeeze. Inhale back up to center and exhale, switch. Left elbow presses into your right thigh. Come back to center, up through the legs, then switch. Right elbow into the left leg, squeeze. Lift up as you inhale and exhale, switch. Keep the heart lifting, inhale. And exhale, switch. Use the shoulder that's closest to the ground to lift the opposite side of your body. Keep going, keep switching, keep alternating. Connecting the elbow to the thigh to the elbow. Toes remain spread wide. Take one more breath on each side. And then slowly lower back down to the mat. 3 breaths. Guide your knees away from your chest on the inhale. And exhale, pull them in deep. Roll over to either side. And come up to stand besides a wall, a couch, a ledge, a table, whatever your particular thing is. You'll be about one leg's distance away from the wall, so you can measure as so. Keep an eye on where your feet are. That's about where your hands are going to go. So take a breath in, lengthen your arms high, feel the body. And then exhale, fold forward, plant your hands. Inhale, halfway lift. And walk your feet back towards the wall and the floor where they intersect. Hug the elbows in, stitch the rib cage, press your fingertips into the ground, and step one foot then the other onto the wall, starting with knees bent. Then begin to straighten out the legs, so that your hips are directly over your shoulders and your shoulders are directly over your wrists. You can drop the gaze for this round. Keep hugging the elbows in towards the temples. Keep stitching the rib cage. Belly is hollow, legs are firm, inner thighs are hugging. We'll take 5 deep breaths here, and after the 5th breath, eyes will come forward, hover, or step down. Pausing in a traditional child's pose, knees together beneath the chest, arms down by your side. I find that a good starting point for these L shapes against the wall are about 5 breaths active, about 5 breaths resting. But the more you practice, the more you can elongate this. When you're ready, plant your hands once again. Option to take the same handstand variation, or option to try it on forearms. Elbows go where the hands were, directly below the shoulders. Press down through your forearms and begin to walk up the wall. So feet will be in line with the hips. Hips will be in line with the shoulders and elbows. Keep hugging the triceps in, keep stitching the ribs and hollowing out the belly. Now breathe here in stability, in strength. This is a static hold meant to challenge you in stillness. After you finish your 5th breath, come back down and pause in traditional child's pose. Give yourself these breaths here to come back, to observe the sensations as they move, as they maybe take you away and out of the present moment, and then allow them to invite you to stay. When you're ready, choose either handstand or forearm variation, depending on whatever you feel like for the day. And begin to walk back up the wall, finding your L shape once again. Feet in line with the hips, hips in line with the hands or elbows. Now hug the elbows in, triceps in, stitch the ribs. Come up onto tippy toes, look between the thumbs, and begin to float one leg up towards the ceiling, stacking it directly above your body. If you'd like, you can start to play with a little bit of balance, maybe coming to the very, very tippy toes of your foot that is on the wall. When you're ready, your top leg will meet back up against the wall, and then both feet will come back down to the mat, finding traditional child's pose. Breathe here, length especially into the base of the neck and the top of the shoulders. This L shape requires not only the core strength in the front side of the body, but considerable core strength in the back side of the body. So acknowledge this. Come back to your hands or your forearms and begin to make your way back up the wall. Remember, elbows hug in, triceps hug in, ribs hug in. Belly is hollow. Eyes will come between the thumbs. Opposite leg will lift, point all the way up through the toe in the ball mound. Now try to find that center point directly over the body. Inner thighs will hug towards one another as you play with some balance here. Neck is long. Keep pressing down through your hands like you're protracting your shoulders. And when you're ready, come back down to your knees, resting in child's pose. You can continue to play in any of these variations for any amount of breath or time that feels strong, that feels solid, that feels sustainable, but also challenging. And when you feel complete, bring your hips alongside the wall and roll up into legs up the wall pose, Viparita Karani. It's a beautiful way to relax, especially after this kind of work. Option to bring your prop or some other weight of some sort on your belly to bring a deeper focus of the breath into the deeper areas of the body, especially washing out, rinsing out the center body that is awake, that is alive, and that is ready to rest, and then ready to be moved through and enjoyed. Even the conditioning, the training that comes with inverting and handstands and all of these good things, this conditioning can still be done with a certain amount of levity, of play. So even if you are using a timer, even if you're counting breaths, even if it doesn't feel like a flowy yoga practice, you can still make it feel that way. You can enjoy it in that similar creative energy, knowing the gift you're giving yourself of your own time, of your own attention. Take your time whenever you're ready, whenever you feel complete. Finish your practice with a simple round of breath and a moment of gratitude for showing up for yourself today. Thank you for being here. Namaste.